Hello, everyone, and welcome to this important discussion on rising demand that could reshape the political landscape of Northeast India. Imagine a part of India feeling so neglected and disconnected, and its people have stopped voting, turned their backs on representation, and now calling for their own state. So this is the reality unfolding in the eastern districts of Nagaland. That's a region that has long felt marginalized and forgotten. Now, today in this session, we will be diving deep into the story of why these regions are demanding either separate statehood or greater autonomy. The roots of their frustration and the government's response also we will discuss. See, guys, this is not just a local issue. It speaks to the broader challenge of ensuring fair representation and development across the country. So, what does the future hold for Nagaland? Will the government grant autonomy, or could we be witnessing the birth of another state? So all these we will be exploring. We will try to explore, this fascinating and the complex issue together. So let's get started. I have a beautiful PPT to share with the help of which I will be able to explain things properly. So let's start. Guys, I hope you can see the screen. Right. Okay. So if you see, I told you about the voting boycott, right? So the latest Lok Sabha election in Nagaland, we have seen that, and it's actually revealed a disturbing trend that in the eastern part of the state, no one cast their vote. So this region's decision to abstain from voting raises serious concern as it highlights the population, disillusionment with their representation. So the lack of voting from this region signals that people feel disconnected from the government and dissatisfied with their current representation. That's exactly what we can understand from the way people. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. Okay, now yeah, coming to the government proposal. See, in response to this growing demand for separate state, the central government recently proposed a memorandum of settlement to Nagaland state government. So this memorandum focuses on 6 districts in the eastern part of Nagaland, and these districts are primarily populated by tribes with distinct cultural identities. When we talk about tribes, they are a separate ethnic identity, separate ethnic group, and they have their cultural identities and the practices. So the state government led by India has now responded to this memorandum, indicating readiness to discuss the proposal with the central government. Okay, so that's what the slide is all about. Now we'll also look at the neglect and the struggle that the area that went for. So if you look at the demand for separate state or greater autonomy, it actually come from the 6 districts in eastern Nagaland. If you see the names, I don't know how to pronounce it correctly, but it may be wrong sometimes. So okay, Longleng, Noklak, Kiphire, Shamator, and no, Tuensang. Okay, so if you look at this, this region has long left neglected, and they believe their needs are not adequately addressed by the state government or the central government, and of course the state government. So local residents basically argue that power is centralized in Kohima, which is the capital of Nagaland, and that their unique needs are and the concerns are not taken care, or it is often overlooked. And this lack of attention have driven them to demand their own state so that they will be able to do things in their own capacity at at the very least. If you see, the structure that allows a kind of self governance is what they are actually looking for. We'll also look at the role of ENPO. Okay, so see, ENPO, the Eastern Nagaland People's Organization, is a key advocate for the demand for a separate state. And in 2010, ENPO submitted a memorandum to the Prime Minister's office, which was urging for the formation of a new state. And they cited underdevelopment and neglect of their region as reasons for their demand. So the main issue, main concern is underdevelopment, and they are completely neglected. These regions are completely neglected, and everything is focused on the capital of Nagaland, which is Kohima. And according to ENPO, the successive governments have failed to address the region's development deficit and leaving people frustrated and alienated. If you see that area, it is completely marginalized and completely alienated. And because of that reason, people are frustrated, and also there is no development which is actually happening over there. So there is a total development deficit is there in that particular region. So this actually led ENPO to push for self-governance so that the people in these districts can focus on their development needs. So at least, a kind of self-governance is what they are actually looking for. Now, if you look at the ongoing tensions and boycotts, see, this is again recent years, this development is there. The ENPO have ramped up its advocacy for statehood, and they're continuously demanding a separate state and autonomy. And if you see, for instance, ahead of Nagaland Assembly election in 2023, ENPO basically urged the people in the eastern districts to boycott the election and demanding a creation of a separate state. So, though they eventually withdraw the boycott after discussions with the Union Home Ministry at that point of time, the organization continues to put pressure on the government to fulfill their demands. So that's the present situation now. And if you look at the government's offer, the greater autonomy, okay, or instead of statehood, this is what currently going on. It is believed that the Nagaland state government is learning towards granting, they are ready now for giving a more autonomy and kind of self-governance, not as a separate state. This should be in terms of greater autonomy, which is instead of a separate state. Okay, so greater autonomy to these districts rather than forming a separate state. Within Nagaland, more autonomy will be granted to these regions. So this would involve, giving region more financial, executive, and legislative powers, which can enable them to make decisions that suit their unique needs and their own developmental areas they can actually focus on. Now, according to certain reports, if you see, the state government may establish a regional headquarter within this district also, which would help in, decentralizing administration and also ensuring that the local voices are heard. Okay, so that was the major concern, though they are trying to address that major concern instead of going for a separate state demand. So they are planning for a regional autonomy, more autonomy. So in conclusion, what we can say is, see, the question of whether Nagaland's eastern region will gain statehood remains unresolved. This is there from 2010 onwards. This discussion is going on, and the central government has suggested that autonomy might be the solution at this point of time. That will allow the districts to handle their own affairs, and by staying within the existing framework of Nagaland. So their major concern is the discrepancy or this development deficit and the neglect and other things. By giving more autonomy, it will be solved. So that's the idea. But ENPO and the people of Eastern Nagaland remain, strong and steadfast in their demand for separate state. So as the discussion between the central and the state government continue, and the outcome will depend on the negotiations in the coming months, and then we will see what is actually going to be the actual outcome. But this issue highlights the complexity of regional demands and the challenges of balancing autonomy with national unity in a diverse country like India. So this is again a very important question which you can expect in the upcoming exam. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next session. In case if you're looking for any mentoring program, you can get in touch with us. So see you guys.